All right. And here we go. We back again. I'm Spencer. Of course, we have our licensed clinical therapist, Nazir.
Oh, shit, that's me.
Yeah, you jackass. Jesus, been doing this how many times?
Yeah.
And of course, we have our special guest for today, Serena. There you go. Damn.
That's her. I know her.
Yes. And this is the Different Spectrums podcast, where we talk about movies, shows, and mental health. We also try to have some fun, try to have some laughs. So don't take us too seriously.
Or two.
Whatever.
And then just turn it off.
Don't forget to run up those likes as well. We'd really appreciate it. Also, subscribe to our channel, buy our merch, and do all the other stuff that will make us more money.
Yes, please stare at us. Stare into our souls.
Look, keep on looking. So, today we are going to be talking about the movie Ready Player One.
I know him.
Do you?
Yep.
What's his name?
Bobby.
There you go. You were correct. And so we're going to be talking about two scenes. One being where Wade finally gets the golden egg. He finally gets it. So for this movie, it's all about trying to find the last Easter egg. And if you don't know what Easter egg is, yep, it's just Pikachu. An Easter egg in a video game or in any other media is just like a little, I guess it's like a little hint to like something else, right? It's for example, it's like if I play a game and then they have like a little cereal box and it has like Madden NFL on it. Technically, that's an Easter egg, right? So he's trying to find that, and then if you get that, you get ownership of the whole game. Yes, magical. So for this, and then also for the second scene, we're going to be it's at the end of the movie where he finally, gets power over the game, and they got rid of like the big corporations that were controlling it, and they made sure that people would actually, not play the game on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that people can have a nice reality in reality. Yeah, I know, gross. Some topics we're going to be talking about: leaving reality and having your inner child. Also, surprisingly, we're going to be talking about autism. Big surprise there.
Jesus Christ.
Because some of these motherfuckers are autistic.
You don't say. I do.
I don't know what you went for with that. It was like Bubba Gump if he was a cookie man. I don't know.
I tried to put my hand on my hip, but all I did was jab my rib. So
Nice. Nazir, anything before we get into the clips?
now my side boob hurts now. Nah, of course, much appreciation for everyone that watches. Remember, Mondays, me and Spence. Thursdays are now live and hot with our special guests. So that's when we're bringing on people from now on. Is Thursdays. Continue to watch, continue to subscribe, continue to like, leave comments. As Spence always says, please leave a comment below.
Do it.
Okay. After a quick ad, we'll get into everything that Spencer said. You wrapped it up pretty well. We're going to do a little bit longer of an intro of what the show's about and what we're breaking down. And then we got tons of metaphors and tons of different things to look at. And we're going to talk about some deep stories about inner children, the inner child, the young one, the one that's
Anything
still
else on
innocent.
that? Yeah. Keep on.
Yeah,
Yep.
the little one.
Yep.
I'm going to see my head keep going down. All right, I'm done. Enjoy the ad on cracked chicken.
Not like you have a neck anyways.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Now you just sign these papers and the Oasis is yours. You will be its sole proprietor That ain't so bad, is it?
This is wrong. This pen, this contract. This is the moment that Halliday made Morrow sign over his shares in Gregarious. That was the biggest mistake of his life. He knew that. This can't be the end. It's a test. I won't make the same mistake you did.
Oh, good. I just needed to be sure.
This is where you grew up.
Oh, that's just me, a long time ago. I like to have him around from time to time. Hey, I have to show you something. Come on. This is the button. If you push it, the whole simulation shuts down, and a tapeworm program will erase all of the backup servers. So you now have the power to turn the Oasis off forever. You understand? Yeah, try not to accidentally erase the whole of the Oasis on your first day. Well, I expect you have to go. I know I do. So now is the time for you to receive your prize because you won all 3 keys. Once you take this egg, the game will be over. The egg. The egg. I created the Oasis because I never felt at home in the real world. I just didn't know how to connect with the people there. I was afraid for all of my life. Right up until the day I knew my life was ending. And that was when I realized that as terrifying and painful as reality can be, it's also the only place that you can get a decent meal. Because reality is real. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes, I do.
He did it. He got the egg.
Hooray.
No! Please!
Mr. Halliday, something I don't understand. You're not an avatar, are you?
No.
Is Halliday really dead?
Yes.
Then what are you?
Goodbye, Parsival. Thanks. Thanks for playing my game.
The high five took over the Oasis, and the first thing we did was sign Ogden Morrow to a non-exclusive consultancy. The salary, per his demand, was 25 cents, 1/4. With his guidance, our second move was to ban any loyalty centers from accessing the Oasis. IOI had no choice. They shut them all down. The third thing we did wasn't as popular. We closed the Oasis on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I know it sounds like a weird move, but people need to spend more time in the real world. Because, like Halliday said, reality is the only thing that's real.
And with that, we're back. Look at that. It's like we never left.
Thought we died,
All right.
but we didn't. Awkward silence.
With that, getting into, all right, so I'm gonna break down a little bit what the movie is all about. If you haven't seen Ready Player One, it's pretty much about this futuristic time where this huge video game is like the thing. So everybody goes into this virtual reality, and they're trying to find hints to the end of the game. And so a big corporation runs the game, but it wasn't actually made by them. So it was actually made by this guy named Anorak. I believe that's his name, Anorak. We'll see it is. And he's this guy who is not social at all, like we saw in the clips. And he made this huge video game that everyone plays to this day. And his friend, Ogden, actually, I believe, didn't he take the game from him and he sold it off to the big corporation? I believe that's what happened. It's been...
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's how it went. Or technically it's still up. Like no one has it until someone wins the game. So yeah, no one has it.
Took it over.
Yeah, well, they took it over. Technically, they monetized everything because they're the ones that control everything and like the visual things and ads. So they control a lot of stuff. They don't own it until they win the Easter egg, and that's what gives you ownership. But they've controlled and monetized everything because they got all these fucking robots out there doing everything.
There you go.
I think they're called the 101.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so. And kind of going through that, then we meet our main protagonist, Wade, who is deep into the history of how the game was made and just trying to find each and every Easter egg that he can to get towards actually finding the big Easter egg and actually having ownership of the game. There was this cool battle scene with so many different different characters from different movies, shows. It was amazing. Just one of the greatest moments.
Godzilla, Gundam,
Gundam,
Halo.
that was a big one.
The Gundam one was cool as shit.
Yeah, the Gundam was. Yeah, and then they had like Mecha Godzilla and shit.
Yep. And then fucking Chucky comes out of nowhere. It was the scariest thing ever.
It was really cool that they had like the villains on one side and then the heroes on the other. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
But yeah, and then so he finally gets it after all of that, and he kind of realizes that he doesn't really want to make this game just for himself. He kind of wants to make it for everybody, instead of making such like a huge corporate kind of run thing, just trying to make money at every turn. It's all about trying to have like good experiences and just enjoying video games for what they are, and they're just video games. And so with that, he also made sure that people would actually shut down the game on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, because I feel like a lot of the times, especially today, people just don't know how to stop playing video games. I mean, you know, it's very addicting. I'm a big video game guy, play them all the time. But at the same time, it's once you disconnect yourself from actual reality, you get just for me, I get like kind of pissy when I'm like isolated by myself, just playing video games all day. You need human interaction so you can actually, talk to people and, gain some type of confidence when you actually are outside. Like, what is this? The sun?
That's for real. But and this metaphor is not just video game; it's also just social media, internet browsing. Well,
True.
whenever you're plugged into, we'll use the metaverse. When you're plugged into this metaverse, I mean that's pretty much what this game is all about. And like shit, Facebook and all that damn near almost made this happen, which it still could happen with Bitcoin and all the algorithms and all that. Well, I mean, we'll see. But that future might be coming sooner than what we think.
Oh yeah, I mean, virtual reality is getting bigger and bigger every day. So, I mean, you don't know.
Planning to meet my wife.
It's just gonna be another big guy and be like, all right, let's just do this, man. Let's just.
You like pizza? I can't even have pizza anymore. You like buttered noodles?
Oh my god. With Parmesan on it? No, I can't do Parmesan, dog. Can't do Parmesan.
Just butter. Yeah.
Just butter. Yeah. All right. So, Nas, I actually want to get you. What are some things I'm missing? Because it has been a while since I've seen Ready Player One. What are some things I'm missing from?
Man,
summary?
that was a lot of it there. Right? It's this evil rich dude trying to take over everything, monetize everything, enslave everyone. That's the biggest thing to the thing is that they're enslaving everyone at these centers. One of the actors, what's the woman's name that he falls in love with, the girlfriend? Samantha.
Or Arden. Yeah.
Artemis/Samantha.
Artemis.
Her father dies at one of these enslavement centers, and so that's why she's going against the status quo. He's just trying to win it because he's a fanatic of the guy that created the creator. So it's just his thing. He knows everything about everything. He goes to his movie theater all the time. He knows everything. He's the one that solves all of it. Mm-hmm. And so they partner up together, them and like their squad of like misfits, all neurodivergent characters for sure. All these autistic characters are now playing in this autistic world, this very creative, immersive world. So I thought it was awesome to break down. This was recommended by my client to watch in 2017. Was schizophrenic young man and a wonderful human. Did not make it through school, but we had many good talks. And we got them the help that they needed in the time that they needed. So that this has been on my list since like literally it came out. I think it was 2017, might have been 2018. I think it was 2017. So finally got to it, finally watched it. It was wonderful, all the battle scenes, but the biggest thing was at the very end when Spencer was talking about unplugging, being more emotionally intimate, more available. I know I get sucked into it too, and it's kind of weird. Like you're on your phone. I see one of these sports commentators, Spence, you'll know who it is, Shams. So he's the basketball guy. He said that, I think he spent like 17 hours a day on his cell phone because that's all he does as a sports reporter and talking. 17 hours, it's just like, holy shit, you never even look up. That's his job though. But still, I never used to have this much screen time until the podcast. Now it's like nonstop screen time. It's intense. Right. But as we're pulling back from things and making things slower, it's getting better. But that screen time is a son of a gun, man. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why we're doing this. The screen time thing, there's the neurodivergent thing, and then we wanted to talk about one specific part. Serena, we'll kick it off with that. Is something, the Easter egg within the last clip. The Easter egg. Well, the first clip. The child.
Add to it too, like with Wade, I think he used the Oasis a lot as an escape. And then so through like the storyline too, him gaining wisdom from the experience of the game creator of, oh, there's more to life than just that screen time or the game. And so he also learned that too of, oh, there are reasons to check back into reality, or reality isn't equally important. Because I think for him, it was a big outlet because he had some stuff happening at home too that wasn't great.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it was horrible. Yeah. I thought that was his mom, but that was his sister. And she had a very abusive boyfriend, and it was, and then he blew all her money, all her rent money, and all that, and then he was beating her, and it was bad. And then she dies because the rich dudes kill the abusive boyfriend and her. Sad story. Spence, what are you thinking? What's the questions? What's the lineup?
What would you think would be a good plan on how to get people to disconnect from their devices? Now that's a hard thing to really kind of do, first of all, but like what would be like some ideas on how to do that for people? Because I feel like you said, a lot of people still do that, whether it's on their phone, video games, all that stuff. What would be your advice on how to actually, get them to kind of step away, or at least for like a short time?
Serena, I'll have you go.
Okay. I mean, well, here's a total counselor answer, but a lot of times there's an intention behind of like the escapism. So I might even think of like, what are your intentions? What, is it just to fill boredom? Is it that there's something you're actively kind of running from? So, digging a little deeper, but like, is there a reason that you're turning to high amounts of distraction? And so sometimes just identifying of like, well, what is my intention here? Am I just bored? Okay, well, how can I branch out in different ways so that I can engage with reality and also address this boredom? Or is there something deeper? Is there emotional component? Is, there's something I'm trying to avoid that I don't want to deal with?
That one.
So that would be my first step. And then it's like, you just got to hold yourself accountable. I mean, I have clients that will straight up, they put things on their phone intentionally that will boot them off and be like, all right, you got to take 30 minutes and, check into reality. So I think it's just holding yourself accountable and then also kind of connecting with yourself too of, okay, wait, what other things do I want to do? What hobbies, what interests do I have? Who am I outside of, these distractions and social media?
For sure. Like you said, there are apps. So you can put different apps or even on Instagram, you can give it to where it gives you timeout. You can have things like deactivated at a certain time. So like even my phone, I think if I set it on a certain setting, it'll turn everything like black and white to make it less stimulating and give you less dopamine and serotonin effect. And then it can silence everything after 10, 11, 12, and then doesn't really start giving you notifications until later. It can like immobilize your phone as well. I forgot what it's called on my phone, but there is a button to set it. The apps I've done with some students, dude, I just had them take certain apps off the phone. So like my nephew, that is now a lawyer. Thank God he's finally a lawyer. I'm like, fuck, kid's never gonna get out of school. He would go straight LeBron James, 0 dark 30, he calls it. Playoff time, he gets off of all social media, LeBron, and then that's it. Like he's just grinding, doing his thing, playing the game. So my nephew would do the same thing. Whenever school was started back up, that's it. All the social medias were deleted off of his phone, and then he would only put them back on for maybe like a few hours on a weekend, but you'd send him a message, you wouldn't hear back from it for like 2-3 months. But he knew he had to do that. So sometimes Spence, within the last few years, not necessarily this year, I'll shoot Spence like 20 reels at a time. That's majority of them are for my nephew because he'll send me like 50 at a time. At one point in time, I was 65 reels behind.
Jesus.
He's only been back on it for like maybe a week, and I was 25 reels behind just from a week. So my nephew goes on a binge, and he just sends them off to all his friends, right? There's a couple of us, but he knows he gets addicted, and so he'll just take it off his damn phone so he doesn't have that challenge. So because he's got to grind and read. So there's ways to slow it down, Spence. There's ways to track your screen time. My phone gives me a screen time every week. It's like you were on your phone 1 more hour than you were last week. I was like, yeah, fuck you. Why are you watching me?
Please don't.
Yeah. I heard the last part there. You faded a little bit, but yeah, please don't acknowledge me. So there's that. I think Sabrina said the biggest thing is avoidance, straight up.
Right.
People aren't assimilated into real life, and thus this is a way to leave, get excitement. Some of my students, I don't really care though, because that's where they make their friends, and they got a tons of online community. They're on Discord, so it's got its pros and its cons. Spence, depends on if it's getting away into our daily activities.
Right.
Is it causing anger, rage, dissociations? Can you not talk to other people? Can you not talk to women because you haven't been socialized to talk to any? Just depends. So harm reduction model in which you work with addicts is the same way in which we would do this. So Serena's completely right. After you figure out why they're doing it, harm reduction, get them in the real world, work on social anxiety because it's going to be an issue. Yes. Also, they're probably going to have a drastic decrease in like dopamine. So we're going to need to increase that with other things such as exercise, communication, food. Like they will have to have more stimuli. Maybe we can get them to fucking read a book. I'll say one more thing, then I'll wrap it up here. I know for me is when I go back to try to read, after like a long time of not reading, I'm like, I read this shit like 7 times.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck I just read. It's impossible. Like I'll read one page and be like, woo! Oh Lord and Lord. I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ, man. Every time.
I'm sorry.
Why does it have to be a slave every time? Why has it got to be a slave?
You
know it is. Don't try to act all surprised and shit.
That was
Lordy, master.
Oh my God. You took it.
I just can't read, master. I don't understand.
I did not go there, man.
Oh, but your slavery shit. God
damn.
damn.
My God. I literally went to Southern.
That was slave Southern if I ever heard it.
Jesus, Serena's like,
Lord have mercy.
Just for point of, Spence is black, so he can say these things. I'm not saying these things. Spence
You
can
got
say
your
these
diversity over here.
things. Yeah. I've been invited to the cookout. I'm still not saying that stuff.
All right, motherfucker. You're not in Texas yet. All right.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know what the hell I was talking about. Oh yeah, it's just so hard to read. My God. It's like I'm going to try back at getting into reading. After this program's done in a couple weeks, I'll be done with a doctorate. And I got some thousands of books I got to read. I'm going to read one of those fucking pages. And I'm going to take a nap. I already know. But we'll see what happens. But getting sucked into the real world is sometimes weird. It's weird.
And is my mic working?
It is.
Is it working normal?
Yep.
Okay. Do you ever, sometimes I'll challenge myself. I get so used to carrying my phone around. Do you ever try to just set it down and not touch it like during a social interaction, or like, okay, I'm going to go do this thing and I'm not going to look at my phone? I find so, like, if I'm just sitting with someone like out at dinner, I'll just instinctively start to like touch it, or I'll pick it up and I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, it's hard to actually, or a moment of silence. You get so, used to always going to that as soon as there's a moment of silence.
Yeah. I'll let Spence speak on this because he's actually got a little bit of a different perspective.
Do I?
Yeah. Well, when you're with your partner,
Yeah.
I know it's different.
When I'm with Dom, my girlfriend, it's always like we never are on our phones when we're like hanging out or anything, because we always try to I don't know why, like we never really set boundaries like that. We just instantly did it. Like we just don't get distracted by our phones. Like, sometimes if we have like, a message or a call, we'll answer it. Or if like one of us go to the bathroom or something, we'll just like answer a text or something real quick. But for the most part, we just usually make sure to spend our time, like connecting with each other rather than just being on our phones and, being like, right. But yeah, and then we're usually distracted by like movies or shows that we're watching too. So it's all in that, really. I mean, like we never really discussed that like openly. We just did it, and it's been good ever since.
So yeah, we talked about it on the pod before, and then so like if he doesn't respond to something, I'm like, well, he must be with Dom. Piece of shit.
That's right. That's right. Get jealous.
Yeah. Motherfucker, like the video I sent you. Damn.
Look at what I sent.
Look, I did. I'm sorry.
You just can't stop. You can't. Maybe that's your addiction. Yeah, slow that down, buddy.
I like the voices. But other than that, I know that me and Spence will be on our phones. Like we're vibing, chilling, like we're on our phones a good amount of time.
Yeah.
I will get that phantom touch. Like I'll be laying in my bed. That sounds weird, right? I don't know, the phantom touch.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Someone done touched me now. I got a little pat on the head.
Wait a minute.
I just did the voices in my head this time instead of saying anything.
Thank God.
There's a Winnie the Pooh one. I can get away with that. Like I'll be laying in my bed, like I'll wake up and be like,
Yeah.
let me go ahead and let me touch it. Like, is there any notifications, any email? I'm like, it's 3 a.m. No one fucking emailed me at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I know. I feel that. Who's texting me at 4 a.m?
Yeah, it's like a
Hey, just checking on you.
yeah. Just checking on you. I can see you outside your window.
Oh my God.
That's a thing that I do quite often that I hate. I know as soon as I wake up in the morning now, I'm so anxious because I run this little business in Michigan, and so I'm so anxious that the people are going to call in, which is fine, but like they'll do it like 10 minutes beforehand, and then it's hard for me to get things shut down. So like now I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to sell this thing, get rid of it. That way I can just like sleep like a normal person again.
Right.
But yeah, otherwise I'm really not too worried about other emails. I will know that since the pod started, has increased me checking it because I want to see all the likes and subscribes and all that. I'm like, yes, unlimited power. So that's the thing. I don't know why y'all are addicted to it, but I know that the podcast has increased my screen time.
Yeah.
I need the likes. I need them.
Yeah.
Unlimited power.
Get in my belly.
All right, fat bastard. So kind of going along with the scene, what would you say? So Serena brought this up, like kind of when he started crying with finally gets the golden egg, finally gets it. So what would you say is your perspective on why he was crying? Like, was it just like the sheer look of it, or was it more of just the fact like I finally did it, I finally cracked the code? What do you think?
A combination. I mean, he spent so much of his time, the whole movie is him trying to figure this out. And then I think all the feelings wrapped into one. I mean, it's such a sweet movie. He's doing it with all of his friends. So it's, I think, all the hard work. And then I think the finale being of like this connection and wisdom and it all coming together, even at the very end when he doesn't fall for that very last trick.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the hard work and the excitement and them being there with all the people around him.
Yep. Proud. Just proud. Like, right, he knows everything about this guy. That would be like us in this call right now. Like the person that we look up to the most, the person that we love the most, the person that we respect the most, the person that we idolize, like we put on this pedestal. Like for this is that kid's God. So when you follow someone like this, that's almost like a religion, this video game, and then you were to live up to that and be almost their equal, to be on the same playing field. I mean, that's such an accomplishment. You would be so proud of yourself that you have no other choice but to cry. It would be 50 times more potent than a Olympic medal. Right? And people, after they win the Olympics, they win the medals, they break down in tears. They win the championship, they break down in tears. This is for the entire world. This isn't a sport. And so that would be overwhelming. So your answer, there it is. I talked through it. It's overwhelmed.
Right.
Overwhelmed with joy joyful, overwhelmed, and he break down. It happens with a lot of neurodivergent people when they don't know what emotion's going on, but it's like really big and confusing. So when it's really big and confusing, most people break down because it's overwhelmed, and with that becomes deregulating of emotions. Most people deregulate, and either they get really stoic and isolate, but most folks usually start to get a little panicky and start to cry. Yeah, it's the same thing when you put me around certain things and I get super happy, I'll just start to cry. You put me around a violin or someone playing the piano, I'm going to start to cry. There's some type of overwhelming emotion that's getting triggered. I don't know what it is, and I deregulate in a good way. So I would assume that's what it is, Spence. You know, some others may not understand it. Like he cries again when he takes off his helmet because like the dude's leaves and it's gone and it's over. So that I would relate to, like, what do you do now? So I would relate that to Olympic athletes again when they call it post-Olympic letdown. So you've been training for like 4 years or your entire life. You get your gold medal and you're like, so do I just go home now, or what do I do? Do I go eat a chicken now? Like, do we go to Disney World? Like, what the fuck do we do?
Yeah.
And it causes a lot of athletes like legit suicidality, Spence. Like they will begin to contemplate existence, and when we do that, it gets scary. As we know, neurodivergent folks on the spectrum contemplate existence much more than neurotypicals, because we're always wondering what's our place, what are we doing, why don't we fit in, what's going on, and thus we get more existential quicker because we don't fit in. So I know I went a little bit longer on there, but there was multiple things that we can bring up on the tears and crying. Because now you're overwhelmed because like, oh, fuck, I don't know what to do. I mean, I guess I'll go kiss this girl now because like I think I should, but you know. Yeah.
I think that's how you're supposed to do it, buddy. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. He's in the video game, so. Do you like how that feels? I don't know what movie that's from.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll think of it later. Serena, I got a question.
Go for it.
Little kid, that was your big thing that you pointed out. I didn't really figure out how to tie that out until you caught it immediately. I didn't catch that for like I seen the clip a few times. What are your thoughts on that kid?
Well, that's always kind of my area. I tend to love to focus on the kid within. What I make of it, I don't know. I mean, there's a couple of things you could make of it. One, when he's like, oh, I just like to keep him around. I guess I think of that as, I always tell clients, I personally believe of like, there's always a little kid within. And I don't think adults really grow up. I think we get really good at masking, but I think we're ultimately all kids. That's what I've learned. Like, we have moments of wanting to throw tantrums or not knowing what to do, or I see all the time, I'm like, oh, I'm being a kid right here. Or, oh, there's my kid coming out. So for me, it was kind of how I view it of like, oh, our kid is always kind of with us, and him just acknowledging that he's here. The other part makes me actually think of you, because this is something you bring up, is like attending to that kid, or, you know, making sure we stay a kid, do those activities that are fun and lighthearted, and sometimes take a break from being an adult and just attend to that kid. But it could be so many different components, even of like, how does that kid impact who I am as an adult now? What did that kid go through? I think he had mentioned kind of in the beginning of, I don't know exactly what he said, but something of like, that he had a hard time, or,
Yes.
or alluded to the fact that he was alone or had a hard time. So to me, it's almost like he's parenting that kid too, of like, you know, I keep him close to me and I make sure he's okay. So there's those components too.
Facts. Definitely reparenting the kid, being with the kid. I think it's very interesting if you watch the kid, specifically just watch the kid. Very quiet, very reserved, very anxious. He's like, oh, who's that? He's like, that's the kid. And the kid barely looks up and then goes back to the game. Like barely. As he goes, hey, as he's walking away in the end of the game, Mr. and he says his last name. They both turn. The kid barely does any facial expression, barely looks. And then he quietly walks in. Kid doesn't say anything. What kid do you know that doesn't say anything? Most kids usually are a little bit more rambunctious. So there's some neurodivergent traits, obviously, that they're showing, but also very secluded, isolated, alone, possibly depressed. But he also just could have been neurodivergent, having a fucking blast, being alone by himself in the game. Yes, reparenting. I like to get people to feed the kid. I'm of the belief that yes, we're all full of joy. And then the world pollutes us, the world damages us, the world turns us mad, evil, angry, depressed. But we're all like pretty solid. So Serena, you've talked about in the pod before, like you used to be doing this or that, or right, bigger emotions, right, getting into this or that. Well, most likely you weren't getting into that shit when you was young. And then life kind of takes its turns and it kind of molds you into something that you probably really aren't. And then it takes us some luck, some love, some good relationships, right? Some magic. For some people, prayer to get back on the right track. I'm like being happy and being able to express themselves. So I know that was true for you because you're like bubbly as hell, and the kid comes out quite frequent. Spencer, the kid comes out quite frequent, but he's got to be around certain people as well for it to come out. For me, quite frequent, but also I got to be around certain people for it to come out. So I was talking to some students, and I was talking to them, and I'm looking at them doing this and that, and I said, I'm neurodivergent, and so I'm going to unmask in the rest of this thing. I will make jokes to let you all know. Feel free to laugh. Feel free to join me. Feel free to know that I'm going to be ADHD, walking around and pacing. I'm not going to make eye contact with this. I'm going to be in my own world while I'm talking to you. So every once in a while, I would like look up, and I said, young lady, the world will take things from you. It will destroy you and make you hate everything and everyone. You get to choose, do you join everyone in that misery because they're trying to pull you down, or do you get to put that away, become better and stronger, set better boundaries? But the world will do everything to kill you. She cried. This is from like 50 people of color. I said, you remember this. You can stay happy, or you can choose to be like everyone else, miserable as fuck and angry. A lot of us of color don't even know why we're angry. We're just angry. A lot of folks in poverty, they're just angry. They don't even know why. Some of it's generational. Some of it's DNA. Some of it's just the economics in general, the lack of opportunity. Some of it's nutrition and exercise and daylight, right? They talk about people riding bikes and stuff and going for walks. It turns out that's an economic status thing. It's not a thing that happens in more impoverished areas because of safety concerns. You're just in your house, and thus you're forced to only be on your phone. It's fucked up to think about. Riding a bike is a privileged thing. People don't understand that. It's a privileged thing. Going for a walk, privileged thing. And so, right, we go up pretty angry. Tomorrow we're going to watch, long as everything's going good and we're not tired and me and Spence got time, we're going to watch a clip from the Watchmen TV series on HBO. We're going to talk about masking and anger, masking the anger within. And so that's something to keep in reference. When you're looking at this child, I got a human I work with and years ago, and they came in for an on-call one day, an emergency, and we sat down, we talked this and that. I said, what would the inner kid want you to do? He's like, I don't fucking know. He wanted me to do this or that. I said, oh, okay, well, we ain't becoming no fucking fireman. That's not, you're too old. I'm thinking of like, what would your inner kid do? So we talked about the inner kid playing and running around in the room. And that's when he started crying. When he starts, because I'll be like, what did the kid version of you? Everyone thinks like middle school. I'm talking, Mom, like second grade you. First, second, third grade you before you're polluted. Studies show that people of color tend to drop out mentally in school, second grade. So second grade and lower. And so we talked about that, and later on we met again. He's like, don't you fucking bring up that kid shit. He didn't want to cry.
Yeah.
I'm like, how you doing, that little motherfucker? I see him over there fucking up shit in the corner. I'm gonna put my toys back, bitch.
Just because we learned as a kid, like my biggest lesson. Wait, my mic's working. Fine,
It's
right?
working now. It wasn't for a second, but it's working now.
I'm paranoid. It's been a hassle.
Go
But
ahead.
for me, so much of I am like a control freak, and even though I present as very bubbly and like happy, it's actually anxiety ridden, and that is just usually what lures people into me. That's like my mask. But I had to learn of like, oh, I've got to relax. And honestly, it was having kids that helped me realize of like, oh, sometimes we can just sit down and like play Play-Doh or do Legos. Like, oh, this is kind of fun and nice, so I don't always have to be like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? But that was what I learned as a kid. So even starting to understand of like, oh, what are those rules and beliefs? Like maybe I've kind of become an unhealthy parent to this kid. How do I be a healthier version? What does that kid actually need?
Yeah, that was your defense mechanisms to gain control and safety, and predicting the worst and trying to make the best happen and always being on guard. So that was chaos responses and unpredictability, uncertainty. So what's it do? It fosters anxiety later in life. It makes people like me and you hypervigilant. And so when me and you get presented with drama and chaos, we're like, fuck, this is normal. I'm cool with this. Everyone else, all the other people that, ain't got no issues with trauma, they're like, oh my God, how are you not scared? I'm like, man, shit, we about to eat dinner in here. Man, it's a good time. Yeah, it's just another Tuesday. Kids like, I almost said something inappropriate. Kids talking about hurting themselves or others, and we're reserved. We're calm. We're not freaking out. Where other clinicians or other teachers or parents, they'll be, oh my God, we're going to hospitalize this kid right now. This kid, that kid's smooth, man. You can tell when someone's a legit danger to themselves. Don't get it twisted. I do my protocols. I document everything. I ask all the questions. I safety plan it all. Make sure I'm not being ignorant here. But you can tell what's legit concern and what's passive ideation, what's old stuff, what's new stuff, other protective factors. But you're right, Serena. This control stuff, it tends to happen. I was talking to Colin's wife, Heather. She's now reeled in some of her control things and OCD and all that because the kid's kind of teaching it. Shit's just going to happen. Yeah. And also you realize that it hurts you and others, the control and the negativity and the nastiness. And so you can't do it. I wonder something. So let's say he created that world to just be, his big thing was no rules. So I know it's been a while since y'all watched it. No rules. He wanted no rules. He wanted people to be free to express, create, whatever. But his buddies, best friends, like, we got to have fucking rules in this thing, man. There's some crazy shit going on in here. It's like, no rules. Mm-hmm. This is the foundation that he said, no rules. But he's like, we have to do this. So that's why they end up splitting, because they had a difference in opinions. That's intense, no rules. He wanted any possibility to be available. But that's wrong, because if there's no rules, people will like abuse that. Suspense. Moderating it for here for real sec, but because I know you're big in video games too. What do you think about that? The no rules, or like, do you get what he was trying to do, or also maybe you don't get it? Do you agree with it? Not agree with it? I personally, I understand it. Don't agree with it. I thought there should be rules on things because I don't trust humans.
Yeah.
I understand what he's going for, because as soon as we put rules in, that means we can just start banning anything that we want to, or maybe deem unfit, and that kind of doesn't leave any room for expression, really. And I think that I agree with it somewhat, of having no rules, especially when it comes to like a video game, because yes, there are going to be people that take advantage of that, but then there are also going to be people who take advantage of making too many rules. And I feel like that's a lot worse than not being able to express yourself in any way you can, because there are going to be some people who want to express themselves in certain ways, but they can't do it because there are too many rules in place. Now, you can always go around rules. I understand that, but then you get punished for that. You get punished in some way of going around rules. So I think there could be a middle ground to it. But at the same time, you have to have the right people. But like you said, like you don't trust people. But how do you trust the people that are making the rules, though, to not make even worse rules for other people?
Yep.
Right. So at least you have the opportunity to not, you can go in certain places in a video game and it's fine. There may be some dark and shitty things that people do, but at the end of the day, you're making that choice to get to there. So if you make that choice, that's on you and what your conscience dictates, instead of just people not being able to have a chance to get to that point at all. So that's why I kind of think about it.
Any input, Serena, or no?
I feel about the same as both of you guys. I think some general rules or some limitations, but in the same breath, kind of how Spencer said it too, it's like, but at the same time, then people can overdo it with rules too. So,
yep, the regulations thing. I just thought about that. So technically, when the boy took over ownership, he did not limit any creativity. He created 2 rules: shut down Tuesday, Thursday. And then the other rule was no more of those fulfillment centers, no more of the company or corporate, controlling things. So he got rid of those. So there was only 2 rules to create more equity within the game, and then to create less mental health concerns, because you need to be in the real world. So he did stick true to the fundamentals of the game. Let me look at this board here, some things that we wrote down. So I want to see if Serena agrees with some of these things. And maybe Spence too. Wrote down the first metaphor was the therapist ADHD thing. So Spence, I can get lost in some shit. We did it in the last pod where I was just talking, and Spence like, what are we even doing anymore?
To be honest, that's like most of the it's some point you're just like, skip-a-doo, and you're like, I had nothing for this. I don't know.
Yeah, correct.
How do I host this? Yes, skip-a-doo to you. I don't know.
I like to end things weird. One of my clients always says that to me. Like, why do you do this to me at the end of the session? I was like, I don't know. Bye.
End call.
Oh, it's so awkward. She just stares at me, kind of scared. And I'm like, I don't know what I did. Serena, have you ever been in your office where you're just kind of bebopping around, either forgot what you said, you're looking for something, or they're asking you, were you paying attention? And you're like, oh yeah, don't be sad.
Oh yeah,
Try that, Don't you know? You shouldn't be sad,
I'm just in Winona. What?
Yeah. So give us some audio to see if your mic's working.
Okay, test.
Yep.
Is it working?
Yep.
Okay, good. Yes, absolutely. One, I always vibe the best with clients that go on a bunch of tangents. I'm like, oh, nice, I'm on my speed. Like, we're going here, we're going there. So that's a lot of fun for me. But at the end of the day, I mean, even outside of the ADHD, we're humans too. So, I mean, there's even been days where it's like, I'm having a bad day and I'm kind of thinking about my own stuff and then trying to be present with this person. So having to kind of practice my own skills of like, okay, we got to contain it, work on being present. I mean, there's definitely times, or I hate to say this, but sometimes I'm just like, this isn't exciting for me. Like, come on, give me something juicy. We're just talking about this one thing. So even having to use my skills of like, come back to the present, focus back for sure. So yeah, this is definitely something that I struggle with 100%. But I mean, that's where it's like I'm my own favorite client. I've got the skills. You just got to practice them. So just being aware of like, oh, I'm really distracted today, or I've got some big feels going on. I'm gonna have to just work that much harder to really be present with them.
Yep. I'm sure it's even weirder these days with your buns in the oven.
The babies. So actually the worst. Well, yes, I have kicks now. I've had a couple where they've been talking to them. I'm like, oh, and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just suddenly got like a really big kick. And so I've actually interrupted session But at the beginning, when I had morning sickness, that was when it was rough, because there were several times I was with clients. Is my mic being weird?
No, I'm doing like, this is me making the puking noise.
Oh yeah, where I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw up, don't throw up, don't throw up, don't throw up, or I'm like, just trying to like pinching myself. I'm like, just focus on that. Like, there was definitely one client that I like mixed up a name. We were talking about somebody. They're like, no, I mean this person. I was like, oh, whoops, like Friday brain or something like that. But realistically, I was just like, don't throw up right now, don't throw up. Yeah, that was the hardest.
So you want to have some fun from Serena? You should know this is that, if you're cool with the kid, you go at the end of the session. She's like, yeah, we wrapped up sessions. Do you take anything from today? And they say this or that. Just to let you know, I almost threw up on your ass twice. So
right
you lucky.
in your face.
Yeah, you lucky now. So you're like, if you said I'm depressed and everything bad happens to me, you didn't get thrown up on. So fuck you and have a good day.
If anything, you got that. I didn't throw up on you.
You got that. See, you're blessed. Blessings. Blessings. I actually did that with a student because I'm on this new medication now for like my blood sugar and stuff like that. And I was just sitting there holding it, like, don't do it, don't do it. I was just breathing through it. Just breathe through it now, just breathe through it. And then afterwards, I'm like, yeah, so I almost threw up on you twice, Johnny boy. I would let you know the most I zone out is when after lunch and I'm like in those 2 p.m. sugar slumps and I'm like, oh, damn. Oh, damn, kid. Say something, kid. Say something. Oh, shit. Sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to just close my eyes and nod. I wonder if they'll notice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to visualize what you just... Those are the worst. I'll start yawning and shit. And the kid, I'm like, it's not you, kid. I'm like, it is you. It is. That's definitely you. Yeah, it's bad. So that's when I'm usually the worst is after lunch. If there's any like weird email that I get or like I'm in trouble for something or like a bill that's crazy. I've noticed that for Serena, the only way I can focus is if I just pretend like everyone in the planet is dead. Like the entire galaxy is gone. And I'm just like, I'm done. Because I'll be stewing on it. Sometimes it doesn't have to be crazy. I'll be stewing on my last client. Because we go clients back to back to back and I'll be thinking about something. Sometimes I'll be thinking about something that me and Spence said on the pod and I'll just start smiling. And I'm like, oh shit, they're like crying right now.
Yes, I love that moment.
Happened to me in group therapy the other day. I'm sitting there smiling about what the other kid just said. The other kid just sitting there talking about death. And I'm like, anyone just notice what just... Yeah, I'm glad you're alive. What were we just talking? Dead? Yeah. Oh, Jesus. How's Bobby doing? Bobby's no longer with us. Okay.
What are you talking about? I'm so sad right now.
I know. So that happens. Only other time, I think sometimes when I'm looking for books, checking emails, Serena, never say a kid's name. When you're trying, I'm not talking about confidentiality. I'm talking about, I don't ever remember anyone's name. 99% of the time, I cannot remember my client's name in the room. And so I'll just say that person, your partner, or your friend, or which one. And it'll be David, Rebecca, Johnny. Oh, no, the one. I remember the details and context. I don't remember the names. Literally, I will walk outside my office, forget the fucking kid's name, and walk out to the lobby and be like, the short one. Yeah. I just wave and they know I'll do one of these. And if comes to me having to write an email in the session, I remember their name if I go to write the email, but like as soon as it comes to seeing them in the lobby.
Yeah.
You. Yeah, you.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
You know what I struggle?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just, when I reschedule them, I panic because they're looking at me And I'm always like, it's the pressure of them
Yep.
looking at me
Watching you.
that mine will always go blank. And then I'm like, oh my God, what's their name? I don't know.
So this is where I get caught, is because I don't say anyone's name in the lobby. So sometimes I'll double book something, or I'll fuck it up, and two of my clients will be there at the same time. Oh, hey man, let's go. And then two people will stand up. I'm like, oh shit. The one in the back, sit down. You ugly looking mother. Yeah. This shit's weird, Spence. Like, I just fucking suck at names.
I feel that.
And so I'll be like, you, go back to my office. You, stand right here. That's a thing. So the ADHD part, 100% good metaphor for probably anyone. And that was him trying to find the Easter egg.
Mm-hmm.
There was the metaphor for therapists, teachers, where he goes, congrats. Thanks for playing. Not congrats. He said, thanks for playing my game. I thought that was super sweet. Part of me was also like, do you want to play a game?
Yeah, you got your Scream mask on. Or no, Jigsaw mask on.
Jigsaw, yeah. Just scare the shit out of my clients.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking is he's just so nice and so kind. And I'm sure many people think he's just weird and awkward as shit, but he's so kind and so lovable. Even though he probably doesn't like reciprocate that because of his neurodivergence. I thought that how sweet it was. So thanks for playing my game. Thanks for seeing me, being with me. No one else does it. You did it. One person out of millions, billions. I thought that was probably the sweetest moment. More so than just a romantic kiss at the end.
Yeah.
It makes me think of, oh, sorry, Spencer, you go ahead.
I was just gonna make a joke. Ew, intimacy. How dare you?
Or as I pronounce it, because I cannot spell it, intimacy. Intimacy. Or into you, I see.
So, Serena, what were you gonna say? Moving on.
Oh, I was just going to say it makes me think about right now, because obviously I'm going to be going on maternity leave, and then we're wrapping up the semester. So there's quite a few kids I'm working with that are graduating or, I'm not going to see for a while. So him being like, thanks for playing my game. I feel like I'm doing that right now with some of my clients of like, oh, we've come so far together. This is our stopping point. Thanks. For sure. I mean, somebody I've worked with for so long. I'm so sad right now. I have like somebody I've worked with from like beginning of freshman, and they're about to graduate. I'm just like, oh, and we're both equally anxious. And so we know the end is coming.
Yeah.
And actually in our last session, we're like, she's like, oh my God, the next session is going to be our last. I'm like, it's future us problem. It's fine. She's like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
If
so it's just been lovely.
You better cry. It's okay. If she cries, you can cry.
I don't think I can.
Okay, I'm saying if she cries, then let it go.
I feel nothing.
I do the opposite. I do kind of like you where I smile. I'm like the weird, like I can't
Oh my God, you're one of those? You're one of those that can't show emotion.
No. This is so sad.
You're like, I want to die inside.
I just get so when we were talking earlier with the overwhelmed, you either go stoic or get really emotional. I do both spectrums of those.
Yep.
But in session, it's almost always more towards the stoic where I'm like, no, it's okay. We'll just.
Yeah. See, that's when you get in your bag of tricks and you go on full anime. It's just fucking, oh. Oh, that's you. Got it. So with me, I go real somber. Real somber. I get real low.
Somber?
Low frequency.
Okay.
I like to slow down my speech, soften my voice, and then I'll hit home some things. And then I talk about them, how I view them, how most likely they were just so easy to love. And you're right, you're so very much a good person, good human, and then they usually tank. And then, they usually say some affirming things to me, and I'll tell them, this is a giveaway here for the folks that do watch this. The world is yours. Go get it. Everything that you've ever wanted is there. You don't need me. You never did need me. I just helped you along the ride. And so know that you just have to be kinder, more patient. That's all I need you to do. Be kinder, more patient. And then they're crying. And I said, you're just a good person. And I'm honored to have known you and be with you. And so people will see me getting in my bag of emotions, and then they tank even more. I actually hugged someone the other day because they said they needed it. And I was like, I barely even hugged my best friend the other day. But this fucking kid was like, I need a hug. And I was like, would you like a bro hug after this? It's like, no, I don't want one. I was like, well, fuck you then. I didn't even want to give it to you. Yeah, and then I offered it at the end, and he took me up on it. So I like to do the same thing. As Spencer knows, at my old school, when I had to say goodbye, that was just a shit show of just people crying and walking up to me, taking turns. Jesus.
Next one. Next one.
It was intense.
Like
and then there's
carousel of emotions.
Oh yeah, one kid didn't cry with me, but she like knew my pops, so she cried with my pops, but she didn't cry with me. It was hilarious.
Oh, okay.
Then there was this other kid that like doesn't cry at all. They cry all the time. They just didn't do it in this moment when other people are crying. She's just sitting there vibing. Everyone else is just sobbing around her. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why are you so broken? She's like, fuck you. Endings. Thanks for playing the game. Last metaphor, and then we can get closer to wrapping up. Oh no, we hit that. Child in the room. Yeah, child in the room. Keeping them around. The last thing, funny thing, and this will all tag team on this, is he talked about the real world. We already talked about that. Now unplugging versus unplugging versus being plugged in. Sorry. And he made a joke, and I think he made this joke because people like me, Serena, and Spence, emotions. Bleh. He's like, that's the only place you can get a hot meal. Obviously, he probably wanted to say other things, but he went on the hot meal thing instead of like emotional connection with friends or the woman that he wanted to date, that his best friend ended up dating and marrying, which is devastating. So that's what I thought was a funny metaphor for any weird people with emotions. I feel like all of us in here are weird with emotions. Like, yeah. Like
I would honestly prefer someone to talk to me like in that way. Like, I know what you're saying, but we don't have to go all that way into the deep depths of the emotion. But of them just to acknowledge of like, you can get a hot meal there. It's like, oh yeah, I guess there's some good stuff.
Yeah. I would love to have been Serena's therapist, because I would push you to some weird emotional breaking points, and you'd be like, no, fuck you, man. You'll never take me alive. And then one day you would just come in and cry, or like you'd be like, yeah, I cried with my partner. Fuck you. Like, you couldn't do this with me. I had a client that did it the other day. She's like, I'll never cry with you. I was like, I take this as a challenge. Accepted. Yeah, I know. I almost had her like twice, and she didn't do it. And she's like, yeah, I cried twice yesterday. You bitch.
Oh my god.
Spence, let's talk about being weird and emotions, man.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let me just talk about that.
Or you and Dom, or you and Mom's other friends. I don't know. I know me and you are, because like I'll gas you up for 1 second and be like, yeah, I hope you died.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, I know. Tell everybody that you want to work with them, and then just like leave me behind. It's fine. It's all good. Yeah. I want to tell you like, yeah, man, I'd love to work with you. You're like, nah, I'm good. It's fine. All right. Just ask everybody else. I feel like that kid that like, you ask everybody else to your birthday party, and I'm just like, oh, can I come? You're like, I guess, sure. I mean, if you want to.
Jesus.
I guess there'll be room for you. Yeah, emotionally, me and my mom, like, we've had like emotional moments, but we're pretty somewhat stoic, I guess, when it comes to emotions with each other, because it's like my mom's like German Irish. She was raised just German Irish, and they do not let their emotions show unless it like bubbles up to the top, and so usually it gets to that point. But with Dom, She's usually the more emotional one, I guess. Yeah.
She's a little bit more broken.
Okay. Sure. I can't wait for you to tell her that when she hears this.
She'll be like, yeah. I know she's going to be like, can confirm. She'd literally probably say can confirm.
She will say can confirm. She's going to hear this and be like, damn it.
Said it. He knows me too well.
I know. But yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know. I don't cry a lot usually. It takes like certain things to make me cry, thinking about certain people and stuff like that. But for the most part, yeah, that's where I'm. Like I usually try to understand. Some like I've said this before in the pod. Like sometimes I may joke when. Like I usually am cool about my jokes when it's appropriate. Like I know the moments, but sometimes I just take a little, sometimes you gotta take shots that you don't normally take, gotta do it. And so sometimes I do that. Doesn't always work out, but I don't know. I'm usually a pretty chill person unless you get me to a point where I'm just like, I don't like you anymore.
Yeah. I've also never seen you shy away from emotional, in-depth conversation and like get anxious and laughy. I've usually seen you've had it right on. Being pretty good with boundaries too, right? I had a little emotional, weird stuff a couple weeks ago, and Spencer's chatting it out with me, and I said, thanks for listening. He said, I got you, man. I looked away a bunch of the times because I knew if I was looking at him in the face, then I would. It would connect to some emotions and fear and all that with some other stuff. Everything's good now. But so Spencer's usually pretty solid with that. I'm usually pretty solid with it too. I like to tease more when the people like need to be teased and they're more playful and like a little bit more avoidant, like Serena.
Say though, I do definitely challenge as much as I mean, like I said, I'm one extreme or the other, but I've definitely kind of in my wisdom or age or whatever it is, have an understanding of like, oh, the whole spectrum of emotions are important, even those icky, vulnerable ones that sometimes, are maybe more painful. And honestly, it makes me even think of a recent session. We were just talking about one of my clients in a relationship and potentially having to end a relationship, not because the relationship isn't good, but because of them having to move for a really good opportunity. And one of the things they had said was, I wish I wouldn't have even started it because this is so painful. And I just kind of challenged that. And I was like, the sucky part, but also the good part is what I've learned is that's part of life too. I mean, as much as the happy feelings are great, it's like the really painful feelings also, I think, are such an important balance to it too. Because I mean, I know everyone says this, but it's like you can't fully enjoy the good, happy feelings unless you've had that balance of the pain and the not so happy feelings. So they're all important. So what he's saying of like, you gotta experience the whole reality. Don't just escape because they're a little bit icky. And I am working on myself with this, guys. I am trying to sit in the icky feelings.
I got a human that's got a lot of loss, a lot of pain everywhere. Every corner is just pain, pain, pain. And, it's all tumultuous. And so it's hard for them to even strategize to see joy anymore. And I said, everything that we technically do will end in this tragic ending because everyone will pass and friends will break up and it will be tragic. But it's as my father said when we talked about The Irishman, it's the ride. Like we were just talking about this with the mobsters. It's going to end tragically. You're going to die or most likely die early. You're going to be shot and killed. But it's my father said it's the ride. It's the rush for that moment to escapism from your poverty or whatever it was. But if you think about it, a lot of these things will end in tragedy, and yet we still get married, have kids, fail, try out for sports. It ends in tragedy for many different sports because we can't no longer compete at the highest level. It's just a lot of tragedy. And you can stew in it and live in it, or you can decide to like, it's really fun to chase it. I'm enjoying all the connections and community, the growth and learning. I feel like if your student wasn't sad about it, then the relationship didn't mean much. So the tragedy, the heartbreak that you're feeling is the reciprocal of the love that you felt. Not everyone feels like that because they're not always devastated as much as they love the person because there's other factors. But if you are devastated, it's because you love them so much. I specifically notice it more with my clients that were best friends, then dated, because now they only, and then they break up, they lose their best friend and their partner. So those are the ones that are like messed up for months. And then it's hard to not text each other, not in a like toxic way where they're getting back together and hooking up. It's just hard to not text your best friend. You have to start from scratch. So you're right. Sometimes that tragedy stuff, sometimes moving the other way in emotions is scary. Emotions are a scary fucking thing. Some of us are weird for it. Some of us are equipped for it. Some of us aren't. Growth and wisdom, though, Serena, helps with all of it. Age. Intelligence and wisdom are not the same thing. Wisdom is gained through experience and age. It's gained through like failure, trials, and tribulation. That's wisdom. Reading a book, that's not going to give you wisdom. That'll give you knowledge, not wisdom. Wisdom is through pain. You're like, well, I'm not going to do that again. But maybe I'll just call him back real quick just to see. Oh, no. Yeah, I fucked that one up.
Nope. Won't text back. Okay.
He's still toxic as shit. Oh, and I've been banned from Facebook. Okay.
And they
yeah,
they flagged my Tinder profile. Well,
yeah,
won't be getting back on there now.
Yeah, I won't be getting back on there. So, okay. The only thing that we didn't really touch is neurodivergent stuff. We touched on some of it. Probably leave it at that. Diagnosis for him, autism spectrum disorder, probably social anxiety disorder for the creator of the video game. Treatment for him would have been just working through anxiety, working through intimacy and relationships. So just a support sounding board, probably also if they didn't know that they were neurodivergent, to explain what that is and how that's affecting them and impacting them, and then trying to work through more of the socializing if he or they wanted to, because they might not have wanted to. They might have just wanted to be in their own world. And making sure they're not taken advantage of. That's a big thing with probably someone like him that seemed a little bit more naive on things. And folks could ask, why is he neurodivergent? Why is he on the spectrum? Speech, how he interacted, how he itemized things and memorized things, how he ordered things, how he wrote everything down. There was just a lot of precision, OCD, obsessive things, a lot of hyper-focused things, not being in reality, being dissociated, poor eye contact, and not because of anxiety or PTSD, just because he was zoning out, doing his own thing. He would visualize things, replay things in his head, right? There was a lot of different symptomologies that he had that were not severe and disabling, but shows that he was neurodivergent, probably ADHD as well. So it would just be support, sounding board, validation. For everyone else, I would also say that most likely he has trauma because most of the things that he talked about were traumatizing because he was completely isolated. So that's part of the picture too. And then he lost his best friend, and then he never got the chance to date his love of his life. So there's trauma in there. So I would say treatment plan for Spence, because this is how we end, would be identification, greater understanding, support, and just processing. Support and processing would be the only two things, but there would be no like, we're going to stop you from doing this, and we're going to do only this, and we're going to talk to these thoughts with those thoughts, and we're going to role play this. It would just be processing what the hell's going on, and him saying a bunch of weird random shit, and the therapist trying to put it together. Yeah. It's like my kids when they're like sitting in the chair and they just start like doing all these weird pencil things. They're putting their legs here and there, and they're laying on the floor now playing with all the toys. The fucking toys are flying everywhere. I'm just like, let them do the thing.
Like we got gymnasts in his...
Oh, yeah, 100%. Sometimes they'd be sitting in a chair, some of these kids. I'm like, how the fuck do your legs even do that? I don't even understand.
How you put your legs in a pretzel? My legs are too damn big and too torn to be doing that anymore.
Too torn. I can't even fucking bend over anymore. The kids are doing all types of crazy shit.
That's how I really hurt my Achilles. I wasn't even trying to play basketball. I was just putting them in a pretzel. And
Yep. Was it mustard on it? No. I'm sorry.
All right.
My ADHD and autism. You said pretzel. No. I thought of eating, not your leg, a pretzel.
On that note, we're going to end the show. Jesus Christ. Just stop it. All right. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Serena, for joining us today.
Blessings.
We can't hear you, but if you want to give your gamer tag.
She doesn't even play the gamer tag now. She's feeding life in her dumb.
All right. All right. Well, didn't hear that. But you know what? We're going to move on. She's on Twitch. We'll probably put it in the description if she ever gets to it one day. Maybe not. Thank you, Nasir. Please go buy our merch. We have good merch. It looks good as hell. I have it. Good. It's good.
Sensual.
Good. Some friends of mine bought it too. So why not join them? Right?
Yep.
Why not join? And then also please like our page, subscribe, do all the things that you're supposed to do as a fan because you love us. You love us.
You want to stalk us.
Let's not go that far.
Okay. Serena's like, no.
Because people will do that.
I know. Please do not. I mean, I'm not exciting, so.
Please do not. Please don't stalk us. They're definitely going to stalk you now. It's fine. So
only Serena.
Thanks for watching. Shut up. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is the Different Spectrums podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye. Much love. Peace.
Tim.